Are you an empath, intuitive, or highly sensitive person who wants to learn how to embrace or better manage these parts of yourself? If you want to see what messages there are for you in this video, keep watching. Hi, it's Leia. Welcome to this episode of Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life. Have you ever struggled with being an empath, a highly sensitive person, or maybe even having psychic abilities? In this video, we are using the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann to do some healing and self-awareness work, especially for you. This reading, as with the others on this channel, is not predictive. Instead, it's an opportunity to do inner growth work, to do some exploration, to do shadow work, which is to accept or identify the parts of yourself that you may be in denial of, or may have some shame around, or may have pushed away. Because even if these parts of ourselves are swept under the rug, if they're there, they still affect us. So what we are going to do is pick 3 cards. We're not following any particular spread, but we are going to look at each card. I'll be asking you some questions, and you'll have something to ponder. Journal keepers, if you're looking for inspiration, you might find some prompts here that you'd like to work with. I already shuffled this deck prior to filming, but yeah, gave it some shuffle love before we start. So here are our 3 cards. Card number 1. Card number 2. And card number 3. Let me just adjust this to center the cards. There we go. So before we dive into the reading, in case some of you out there have never come across the terms empath or highly sensitive person, let me explain just a little bit. There's a lot of material out there and a lot of books by highly qualified individuals. If you'd like to do some research on your own, but in a nutshell, if you're an empath, you experience the emotions of others. You don't just understand. An empath actually feels what other people feel. Sometimes even the energy of a group. Now, a highly sensitive person is someone who feels or perceives deeply. You may react to stimuli a whole lot more than the average person does. A lot of highly sensitive people have been told, "You're too sensitive." So let's begin. Our first card is, this is the 4 of materials, which in traditional tarot is the 4 of Pentacles. This deck, if you find yourself interested in it, has some revisions, although it is still based on traditional tarot. And with this card, my question to you is, how might you have been holding back from sharing your gifts with the world? How might you have been holding back from opening up and letting your light shine? Traditionally, the 4 of Pentacles is about holding on to what you have and protecting it, being afraid to let go, being afraid to share or to use what you have for our purposes, because this is directed specifically towards empaths, intuitives, highly sensitive people. Have you had experiences that now make you wary of opening up to others about the way you feel, or what you perceive, or how you perceive? Is it possible that experiences where you've been shamed now keep you from sharing your wonderful gifts with those who can benefit from them, with those who resonate? The intention here is not to make you relive those moments and continue living in fear. On the contrary, we're bringing them up now so that you can reclaim your power. Sometimes we choose to forget about these moments or these instances, pretend they didn't happen, and then some of us pretend also that we really don't feel as deeply as we do, that we don't pick up on things or sense things, because many other people don't. And we don't want to stand out. We don't want to be singled out. We don't want to be called crazy. So when and where in your life did you decide, if this is true for you, that you wanted to blend in? It's possible that now the message for you is, if you choose to reclaim all this, why not look for your tribe rather than continue to try to fit in with those who don't understand, to seek acceptance from those who don't believe or don't hear you, don't see you. Maybe some of you out there who feel so inspired can create safer spaces for kindred spirits. Now let's take a look at our second card, which is Nine of Voices. In traditional tarot, Nine of Voices is the Nine of Swords. And some of its meanings are having nightmares or night terrors, having difficulty falling asleep. Fear affects your day-to-day living. It's also about anxiety, worry, stress adversely affecting you. So with all that, what I'm asking you to contemplate now is, how might you have allowed yourself to live in fear because of these gifts or traits of yours? It could be, for example, that someone who's highly sensitive, with a desire to not rock the boat, doesn't speak up when they're highly stimulated, or continues to put themselves in situations that bring out a lot of fear and stress in them, telling themselves it's okay, all these other people can handle it, they don't even seem to be bothered. So why should I be? Why should I do anything about it? Or why should I show any indication that I don't like this or that I'm uncomfortable? And here's another example. As children, some people who are psychic see a lot of things that could be considered scary. And because many of us don't have any mentors or anyone to explain what's going on, we are afraid of these gifts, of these abilities. We might even hear from others that they're evil. And so we begin to despise that part of ourselves or think we must be evil. And we don't want to be that, of course, nor do we want to be in a world where we might get picked on and hated because of what we are, because of what we experience. What is your version of how you've been affected by having these traits, by having these gifts? Even if we might not think so or we're not taught so, there are advantages to having these gifts and finding resources and teachers that we trust and that we resonate with can help us own them and use them in such a way that benefits ourselves and other people, for those out there who want to use these gifts in service. Also, learning more about grounding and centering can make a huge difference as well in managing them. Setting boundaries is very important, period, for anyone really, but most especially so when you're an empath or a highly sensitive person or psychic and you pick up so much stuff. So what steps can you take now towards your well-being so that you're no longer tormented, or at least are now on the path to being able to do something about it? And our third card is number 8 from the Major Arcana, Strength. What a beautiful way to end this reading. I find it so fitting that we have the Strength card here, because the question that I have for you in relation to this card is, how could your being an empath, a highly sensitive person, an intuitive or psychic person, be a superpower, or a source of strength for you. If you've seen it as a curse this whole time, it might be challenging, but you are getting the opportunity now to begin reframing, even if it takes time for you to accept that part of yourself. It can be a process after all. Still, that process can begin now. And maybe some of you out there, despite how difficult it might have been at some point or another, you already have some awareness around that. And here's your chance to be able to focus more on how these parts of yourself are actually a gift, actually a blessing. If you've heard the expression, what you resist persists, sometimes when we fight something that's ever present, instead of learning how to work with it or manage it, it will keep bothering you. Because maybe the message for us is, hey, I'm right here. Use me. Learn how to use me. And if we keep trying to wrestle with something that isn't going away because it's a part of who we are, we find ourselves in a more difficult position than if we found ways to use what it is that we are being given, or more accurately, what has been given to us, what we find ourselves with. Another question I have for you is, how can you find the strength and the courage to go on this journey and embrace these parts of yourself, no matter how difficult it may seem to do so? If you're surrounded by people, for instance, who laugh at this sort of thing, who don't accept it, who think it's a joke, or like I mentioned earlier, who think it's evil, what can you do to love this part or these parts of yourself despite that? Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I wish you all the best on your personal spiritual path. If you are an empath, highly sensitive person, intuitive or psychic who resonates with this, I myself know only too well what it can be like. If you enjoyed this, I'll be back with so many more similar videos, inner growth, shadow work, healing and self-awareness tarot type videos. So please subscribe if you haven't yet so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, take care of yourself. Sending you love through this video. Bye for now. Lots more Diaries of a Witchy Creative Life coming soon.